This is the first time we have had the chance to present such a broad selection of Canadian wines in Denmark ever before.
We have 18 wineries that have come to market, and we just finished a 2-hour masterclass with 26 wines, with all kinds of wines: red wine, white wine, different kinds of red and white, sparkling wine, ice wine. And we are about to go into a walk-around tasting where the 18 wineries will be pouring their wines and talking to participants.
Ontario is a cool climate wine region within Canada, and we have a continental climate, and we really kind of define ourselves by the factors that influence us: lakes, latitude and limestone. And our wines are kind of cool climate in nature, old world in style.
Across the 9 regions of British Columbia wine country, there is diverse terroir, diverse microclimates, but one thing they all have in common is that the long, hot days and the cool nights result in fresh acidity and great structure, really vibrant flavors.
Kind of the way that I love to describe our wines is by the characteristic intense of aroma and flavor that they tend to exhibit. And then to balance that out, they all have this really crisp, clean acidity, which really comes through in all of our wines, whether it's your crisp, clean, refreshing Tidal Bay, or whether it's kind of a richer, more fuller bodied style of red. There's always this really lovely, lively acidity that comes through.
I knew of the diversity of Canadian wine, but it seems like the sophistication has really continued to increase with Canadian wines. I'm seeing a lot more of stylistic definition from different regions that is really surprising to see, as well as also some wineries that are really, more trendy as well, with some of the natural wines that I'm seeing come forth.
I've been importing Canadian wine for 12 years now, and it's really solid quality. Of course, it's a new wine country, but the quality range is big, as they are in all countries, but I think when they really get it right in Canada, it's super interesting.
What surprised me the most was probably the diversity of the Canadian wine scene. There's an abundance of great varieties and styles, but at the same time it was great to see that they sort of follow the same path, this cool climate, fresh character that is present in all the wines.
I think before the masterclass, I associated Canadian wines a little bit more with wines that I knew of from New York and the Finger Lakes, stylistically. I kind of went north. And I made the incorrect assumption that a lot of Canadian wines were very similar stylistically, or that the varieties were also similar. Some of the things like Cèvin Blanc and Béco Noir and Frontenac. And so seeing more of the Vitis vinifera varieties, as well as really the stylistic difference as you head over to BC, British Columbia, entirely different wines.
Prior to the masterclass, I had tasted quite a few different Canadian wines, but obviously ice wine is the one that I knew best. And I still like that category very much. I would also like to highlight the sparkling wines as well, because of their freshness, their elegance, so I knew quite a bit, but at the same time it was nice to explore some new grape varieties and to see again the width of the portfolio.
I think Vancouver Island, I've been tasting a lot of sparkling wines from there. There was no one there in the masterclass, but I did have a Gamay Noir that today was really good, and also some of the Shiraz was interesting. I think especially the sparkling wines are showing a high level for Canada.
So the Danish market, I think, is more diverse than people realize in a little country. From Copenhagen even over to Jylland, you have entirely different choices, even within the parts of Copenhagen, with the more dynamic, growing vegan, vegetarian, very local, fresh wine scene that tends to choose more natural wines that have very low intervention styles. But then you also have a very sophisticated and knowledgeable wine consumer, I think, here in Denmark. So classic wines with beautiful expressions will always play well here.
I think the Danish market, as far as I have been able to see and what I've known from people in the past, is that there's a really big food culture here, and our wines in Ontario are very food friendly, and so there's an opportunity for our wines to go very well with Danish food.
Canada is finding their feet in the wine industry, and you're making a lot of Pinot Grigio, for example, which is not so interesting. I don't think that the grape is so, because in Europe we have a lot of Pinot Grigio, and it's a more of the entry-level wines. So I think you should continue on the sparkling wines and the Pinot Noirs and the Riesling and the Chardonnays, and Cab Franc I think is really interesting.
Wine producers are very interested in the Danish market because they recognize a passion for food and wine together, and not only that, but in wine collectors and people who like to age wine and search out something that is collectible, something that is very nice to share with friends and family, that has a story behind it, that has a passionate producer behind it.
In order to make Canadian wines more well known here in Denmark, my approach would be to work with restaurants. People here in Denmark, when they go out to the better restaurants, are very curious to explore wine and to learn more about wine that they didn't know about before. So that would be my approach. There are so many wines there, and it can be hard to be heard in this whole pool of wines. So I would say restaurants are almost always the trendsetters when it comes to gastronomy, and the same would count for the wines.